Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Learn with Kunjan. Today we are going to talk about data pipelines and how they evolved over time. Why we are talking about data pipelines? Because data is the fuel on which machine learning algorithms can run. So you need to have the data, good quality data prepared so that you can run the machine learning algorithms. And for that, you need the data pipelines. Now, data pipelines, they have evolved a lot during the decades. So in 2000s, you would see there was a pattern of the data pipelines. And later on, when Hadoop came into play, that pattern changed. And now with AWS services, that again, pattern is changing with cloud migrations. So what you will see that there are some underlying factors which stay the same. And that is the constant that I would like you to keep in mind as you look at the pipeline's evolution. So let's get started. I will start with the basic fundamental components which do stay the same throughout the data pipelines migration. So on the left-hand side, you have the data sources. These are your transactional systems. And on the right-hand side, you have your consumption systems. Basically, those are your analytical systems. So you always take data from left-hand side, from the data sources, collect them, and then process them. When you are saying processing, it's very much like bringing the data, for example, customer data, inventory data, and their orders, all of them, bringing them together in, let's say, UTC format from the date perspective, changing all Boolean from yes, no, true, false to a consistent pattern of true, false. So that processing, that consistency that you bring in, then you store it. And storage could be either warehouse or the data lakes, and then consume it from the machine learning or analytics purposes. So the key point, these 5 stages, they stay the same. And even though your data pipeline is evolving, these stages stay the same. And take that as an anchor as we go through the remaining session. So in 2000s, when Informatica was used, basically, all these stages that we talked about, they were pretty much given as an ETL, extract, transform, load. So you extract the data from the data sources, transactional systems, and transform it very much like the data quality cleansing, or bringing them to UTC format, using the Boolean, that standardization stuff, and loading it. And loading, at that time, there were different data warehouses which were popular, Teradata or Greenplum, Vertica. Those were the warehouses which were popular. And that was the data which was used for machine learning and analytics purposes. Then there was evolution happened, which is big data evolution. As with that, distributed data systems became very popular. So Hadoop came into play. But key point again, these 5 stages, these stayed the same. So now again that you had the data coming in from the data sources, and while collecting, you have options now. You can do batch or you can do streaming, because we want to do fast, and for that we want to have the real-time data. So that's why streaming option. That's where Kafka came into play. Now, when all the processing was done, processing also became like distributed processing, and Spark became very popular for that distributed processing. And distributed storage, that's what Hadoop file system, right? And now when this data was stored on Hadoop, on top of it for Hive, like Hive Metastore, and that would provide the way on which you can query the data that you had stored in HDFS, and then using Hive and Cassandra. Those were your consumption platforms. So again, the point is that these 5 stages, they stayed the same, just the underlying technology that evolved. And that evolved because of the distributed data systems coming into play. Then the next evolution that happened was that these distributed data systems became available on cloud, very much like the pay-as-you-go services. So that's where in AWS, I'm taking the example of AWS, otherwise the same thing applies for either Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure. It's a similar pattern. But again, those 5 stages, they stay the same. Collection, how you're collecting the data from your source systems, storing it, for example, in S3, then processing layer, processing again, you have different options like processing through the glue jobs, processing through Lambda, or if you are doing heavy data workloads, for example, EMR, or again, AWS Glue. So those are the data processing aspect. And then producing this data in terms of, from the consumption platform perspective, putting it into Redshift or using it with Athena. So the key point is, as through the complete evolution is happening for the data pipelines, the underlying constructs, the underlying patterns, they stay the same, whether you are doing it on-prem, on cloud, or whether you had traditional Informatica kind of stuff, or you have now AWS services. So keep those key points in mind, and that's the foundational for the data pipelines and getting the data ready for machine learning. Okay, like, subscribe, and learn with Kanchan.